Hey everyone, welcome back to the second second podcast for What a Thought. Uh, there's actual things written down this time for me to talk about. There's actual notes of things that happened in the past week that I want to discuss, and then there's some stuff that I didn't write down but I still want to mention. The first one in that category that's coming to my head is I've discovered a new soda. It's not new, like it's not like, oh, this came out this year. Well, welcome to 2021. No, I assume it's older. It's called Dad's Old Fashioned, and I definitely should have Googled this, and I didn't because I didn't think about talking about this till I hit record. Um, but Dad's Old Fashioned. It's like a root beer. There's two different versions, at least of what I saw where I was. There was a root beer one, and then there was a cream soda one. Man, I wish I could find when this was made. Since 1937. So they've been around for almost 100 years, and I just have never heard of them, which is probably on me, and that's fully okay. But I got it. It's pretty good. I haven't tried the root beer one. I was trying the cream soda one because, as we all know, cream soda can be very fickle. As we all know? No, we're not a hive mind. Not everyone knows this. As I know, cream soda can be a little fickle when it comes to its taste. Sometimes there's not enough cream to the soda, so it just kind of it falls almost in that line of being almost a seltzer water, but with an aftertaste, and that's not fun. And then you get the ones that have way more cream and are very delicious. And then some stuff falls in the middle. I don't know where I would argue that Dad's Old Fashioned falls. I just know it's a thing, and it's really good. I enjoy it. I've been slowly sipping through this bottle since I purchased it yesterday. And it's good. I like it. But the reason that I wanted to mention this, because it made me laugh, is that the bottle, right? I guess they've got different sizes of the bottle, and this particular bottle size is labeled as Big Daddy size. And I want to know what it means. Okay? I want to know what that means. Big Daddy sized? What? Who came up with that? You've been around since 1937. You know what that means? That there's almost been 100 years of this particular soda bottle size for this company being called Big Daddy size. Am I a Big Daddy? Do I have to be a Big Daddy to drink this? To drink this particular bottle of the soda? Because I don't think I am. I 100% do not believe that I am a Big Daddy. So maybe, I don't know, man. Just I want to see that pitch meeting. I want to see the people sitting at their long oval table that only exist in big dining rooms now, and I want to see Mr. Jonathan. That's his name. It's Jonathan. I've made this up, by the way. This is a bit. Come down and be like, all right, we've got different sizings for our containers, and some old band with gray hairs like present. And he's like, we've got our regular bottle, the generic size, everyone has it. It's whatever amount is in there. What is it, like 16 ounce? No, not 16 ounces. Isn't that a liter? Whatever, however much is in a regular bottle. And then he presents this much wider, but somehow still the same height, 1 liter bottle, right? And he says, I want to call this one Big Daddy size. And they approved it. It had to get approved. And I'm looking at this, and like, I've gone to their site, and it seems that the only things that they have currently are cans of the soda, and then the Big Daddy sized versions of the soda. But all the images on the site are with the bottle. And I want to know where you would get this bottle. Oh, okay. They've got one down here. And that is the bottle. But it's not showing up when you go and look at like the things you can purchase. They only have the Big Daddy size in there alongside like socks, apparently. Socks and a hat. Which, you know, if someone wants to get me some socks that say Dad's Root Beer just all over them, it's literally just the logo just placed multiple times down the front and the back of the sock. And I think that's stupidly hilarious for no good reason. Hilarious enough for it to be spoken about for this long at the very beginning of this podcast. Aren't you glad you tuned in to hear about Big Daddy sized cream soda and root beer? Yeah, that's a good root beer. It's Big Daddy sized. Like, but it's good. It is good. And yeah, I'm not sponsored. I just wanted to talk about it because it's hilarious to me. Anywho, on over to the actual things. I wanted to discuss a weird topic for me to mention because I'm not a doctor. But something that was brought up throughout the week, and it's like the medical field. They're weirdly inaccurate with how they talk about certain things, and there's a whole bigger issue there. So I will expand upon that once I, get this going. But the medical field has this tendency, from what I noticed in my researching and my what I'm learning and stuff, to really bog down the idea that if something isn't in a norm, right? Like if it doesn't fit within the confines of what the medical field calls normal, they label it a mistake. And I feel like that's kind of awful, No one is a mistake. People are different, but no one's a mistake. Like, we were discussing the topic of intersex, which, for those who don't know, it is people whose XY chromosomes and just any other factor, honestly, there's many reasons for why it happens, has them develop characteristics of both what we consider male and female, whether that be with hormones or physically like body parts and such. And all of the textbooks on the subject, they talk about them in this light that makes it sound like that it's a mistake. They're like this problem, this issue, this accident. And it gives this tone that makes it feel as though for this particular thing to occur to someone is the worst thing in the world. Oh, we're so sorry, you've been ruined forever, and we will do everything medically to fix you. When that's not the case, no one is, there's no problem with it. There is no issue. The only quote unquote issue there is the fact that they don't fit within a confined box of boy or girl. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they can live pretty healthy lives for the most part, if nothing is done surgically to correct it, which is what doctors always want to do. They're always let me do this thing to fix you. Those are usually their words, we're going to fix you. No, they don't need to be fixed. They're perfectly fine how they are. And a lot of time those surgeries to quote unquote fix them, they have a tendency to cause more issues. They tend to lead to worse problems than if it had just been left alone. And sometimes, obviously, there are moments where yes, we need to do this thing or your child will die. Cool, do that thing. But if it's not a life or death situation, just let them be. They'll come back eventually when they want to, when it's their choice, especially if it's a newborn child. What? No, let them live their life, do what they want to do, and then they'll come back later, just let them be. And so I just feel so weird because it's not just that too. Like it happens with everything. They do it with the deaf community. They do it with people like anytime any form of issue, as they would say, like crops up. They always try to pin it and make it seem like, oh, this is awful, this is terrible. We're gonna fix it. It's like, no, these people are just living their lives. Whether it's someone who's intersex, someone who's deaf, they're just existing. Like, it's a part of their life. And the medical field bleeds out into how society sees it, because if the medical field says, oh, this is a problem, it needs to be fixed, then people start to look at those people and be like, oh, there's a problem with you, it needs to be fixed. And there's a lot of issues with that. That's how we got things like lobotomies and like ice picks up the nose or through the back of the eye into the brain. Like, that's so awful. Because someone was different? No, dude. Everyone is perfect how they are. And that should be the case. You're all perfect. Everyone is perfect. And that's the truth. Because no one is alike. Dude, I am so different from my parents, but they're my parents. I share genetic material from them, but that doesn't make me exactly the same. I'm my own person. And that's how everyone is. Everyone is their own human being. And everyone deserves to know that. Man, can you believe that this podcast is going to have jokes in it at times? Talking about such heavy topics like what I just spoke about, but I preceded it with a whole conversation about Big Daddy sized soda. Oh my gosh, that's gonna crop up multiple times in this conversation. I can feel it. Big Daddy. I'll take a Big Daddy size soda over a BioShock Big Daddy any day. And that is the truth. If you don't know what that is, it is a big scuba man, essentially, with a drill hand, and he will murder you with it. Just so you know. Good game though. I like BioShock. One day I'll play those other games and it'll be fun. Yeah. That's all my talk on the medical field thing, the inaccuracy of how they talk about certain things. Cuz it's weird, dude. There's like no one has a problem, okay? No one needs to be fixed. Sometimes people need guidance, right? That's fine. If someone needs guidance, give them guidance. But let it be something they want to do. It shouldn't feel so pressured onto someone, It's weird. Medical field is weird. What else do I have in here? I'm looking back at my notes and I'm like, some of these topics are so wildly varied. Because it's a combo of things that I was thinking about discussing, right? And then an additional set of things that was asked of me. And I want to save those more towards the, not the end per se, but nope, lost my train of thought. That's very nice. Not the end. What was I going to say? Oh, I just want to save them till later. That way people know, oh, this was something that someone else wanted me to talk about and not, something I was just like, this is what cropped up in my mind during the week, and now I'm going to talk about it. Yeah. So, dudes, dudettes, no, that's gross. You're all buds. We're all buds here. You're my bud, I'm your bud. So YouTube, right? That's where you're listening to this. That's where this podcast is. I didn't feel like figuring out how to go put it on Spotify or something. Because who wants to do that? Who wants to listen to a podcast on Spotify for an hour? People with big fan bases, they want people to listen to their podcasts on Spotify for an hour. So go listen to those if that's what you want to do. But I like mine being on YouTube. I feel like there's a better ease of access of sorts. I don't know. That's my take on it. I find that being on YouTube makes it easier for someone to find, even on accident, because then the YouTube algorithm kind of just says, hey, you left your thing on autoplay. We're going to toss this item that you didn't choose to watch. We're going to toss it into into your feed. You're gonna watch it because you're on autoplay, and there's nothing you can do about it. So have fun, enjoy. Because apparently the YouTube algorithm is a very sweet mother. That's how that sounded. But I watch YouTube, you know? I see what YouTube likes to toss at me sometimes. Because especially on my television, I tend to use it signed out. Because I just don't feel the need to go and put in my account there. So it curates, you know? That's how YouTube works. It curates what it'll recommend out to you based on what you watch. And I watch a lot of like people talking about things, not vlogging. I hate vlogs. I think they're awful. One day you'll see me do one and you're gonna take this audio clip of me talking about how much I hate vlogs and you're gonna send it to me and I will cry. No, I won't cry. No, it'll be well deserved because I would have gone back on my word. I would have been like, I hate blogs. And then I went and I made one. Why did I say that in that tone? I hate blogs. You know what tone that is? I want waffle fries. That's the same tone. Who is that? Is that Thomas? Thomas Sanders? Thomas Sanders is an interesting lad. You know? I didn't know where I was going with that. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I haven't actually watched anything with Thomas Sanders recently. I, at one point, watched some video set that he did. It was like therapy sessions with using Steven Universe characters as examples for the patients. It was interesting. It made sense. And also but was also still just odd. Maybe it was just odd to me. Maybe I'm an odd person. Everyone's odd, you know? But yeah. I did meet him once though. That was hilarious because that was the 8th grade. I met Thomas Sanders in the 8th grade, and I am now currently a junior in college. Dude, that's wild. You know how much time that is? That is at least, was that 3 and 5, 8? 8 years. That's at least 8 years. What a weird place to meet Thomas Sanders, too. It wasn't like, oh, here's some event with, like, Viners or something, or, like, I don't know, YouTubers, although I don't think YouTube events were really a thing at that point. No. I was at thespian state competition. Right? Junior thespian state competition. That's what I needed to say. I was at junior thespian state competition. And they had Thomas Sanders there for you to just meet. Like, he was just doing a meet and greet. There was, like, a section just queued up. I think I was one of, like, 4 guys that was in that line. And the only reason I ended up in the line originally was because I was with other people who wanted to meet him. And I was like, well, this is someone semi-famous. I may as well go ahead and, like, meet them. And I did. And I gotta admit, that interaction has lived rent-free in my mind for 8 years. Almost 8 years. Quasi 8 years. We'll just say it's 8. It's not. That number is too big. But it's lived rent-free. Because I had what did I have? I had a phone case. Because I'm a big nerd. If you couldn't tell. I'm a big old nerd. And I had a phone case on that was Kingdom Hearts and The Nightmare Before Christmas. So it was Sora with his Keyblade, but he was standing on that little hill from The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I think the moon was shaped to be like Mickey Mouse or something, like, you know, his head, because his head is everywhere, and he's just a symbol at this point, more than he's a character. But I had handed my phone off to, like, the person they had helping with it so that they could take the photo, and Thomas turned to me and was like, is that, what did he say? He's like, is that Nightmare Before Christmas? And I was like, and Kingdom Hearts. And he was like, you're my new best friend. And then I got a photo, and then I walked away, and I was like, huh? Oh, I've made a friend? Because if you didn't know, I was also an idiot. But yeah, no, it was just such a goofy moment, and it was so odd, because it's like, look at all these children running around to like compete with like singing and acting and also randomly improv that should have continued in high school, but that's my opinion. And and here in the middle of it is Thomas Sanders. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, looking back on it, it makes sense. All his stuff was kind of usually like musically related. He's a big theater person. Uh, like the other instance in which Thomas Sanders was related to something that I did, a little less loosely, was I drove two friends. They wanted to go. He was in a performance of Beauty and the Beast, playing Beast, and they neither of them had vehicles, and they asked me if I could give them a ride 3 hours away. It's like a 3 hour drive, 3 hours away, so they could see this show with Thomas Sanders in it. And that was the whole reason they went. It's Thomas Sanders. And the drive there, because we hit so much traffic because we were all just a little dumb and didn't think, hey, this is the last day of Thanksgiving break. So many people are going to be going home on the roads right now. And lo and behold, that 3 hour drive, which we had left like an hour's worth of like room to be like safe. It became like a 4.5 hour drive, and that was just to get there, right? That was just to get there. So they missed the whole first half of the show, essentially. Like everything before the intermission was pretty much missed. But this was the kindest theater I've ever seen in my life, because they let them in, like, after the intermission. So they saw the whole second half. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll be over here. And I just existed in this area of the state that I live in. I've just never seen before, because I don't go out this far. I was like, why would I ever drive 3 hours out to a space I don't know? It'd be so weird. I just went around. I did Christmas shopping. I had two friends sit off in just like existing, loving their lives as they met one of their idols, and I was just in a bookstore getting Christmas shopping done. And all I've got to say is, Thomas Sanders, you're just everywhere, dude. You have a weird influence, and I love it. So keep being you. Keep enjoying waffle fries, apparently, alongside Pops from Regular Show, wanting to know what you're doing in his house. I think it's Pops. Someone tell me if it's not, okay? I want to know. I want to know if that is Pops from Regular Show in that audio, because I think it's hilarious. All right? Just, what are you doing in my house? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Just think on this for a minute. Can you imagine if like you just walk into your home, right? And you turn the corner into your kitchen and you see Thomas Sanders making a sandwich, right? He's just making a sandwich. He doesn't see you yet. He's just there. And you're just like, what are you doing in my house? And he turns around and responds with just, I want waffle fries. Huh? What a horrible response. That would be terrible. Just imagine. Imagine if that's what everyone responded with. Whenever someone who shouldn't be in a space is there, they all immediately just go, what are you doing in my house? And the only response you get is, I want waffle fries. Chick-fil-A would go out of business. They'd go out of business because that'd be bad rap. Who else has waffle fries that is so well known other than Chick-fil-A? Huh? No one. No one else. You think waffle fries, you hear closed on Sunday. It's Chick-fil-A. And like, that would be the worst business model. It's just like, there has been a streak of home invasions, but it seems that the burglars are all only looking for one thing: waffle fries. I want to see that news report, actually. It'd be terrible. I would hate to hear about people having their homes broken into But to hear that the people in the homes literally only want waffle fries? What? Dude? It'd be a nationwide crisis. We would stop making potatoes at that point. We would run out of potatoes, and then in order to starve them out. In order to starve them out. Then we'd be like, yeah, no potatoes for you. And it'd just be it. We just have to deal with it. It wouldn't last long. It would never last long. Because everyone needs potatoes for everything, dude. Mashed potatoes, French fries, vodka, shepherd's pie. I love shepherd's pie, dude. Shepherd's pie is great. My nose is stuffy. I'm sorry. I don't know if you could hear that, but I've been breathing weird through it. Potatoes are needed for everything. They're such a good starch. Yes, I think they're a starch and not a vegetable. They don't count towards vegetables. They count towards starch. But we need potatoes. You know, maybe we'll get Thomas on that Big Daddy grind. You know, we'll get him some of the Big Daddy sized old fashioned cream soda and root beer. We'll call him Big Daddy Thomas Sanders. Oh no, that's terrible. You know why? Because I'm sure there are people that already do call him that. I think his fandom dwindles. Like, it's not growing, but it's not dwindles then. It's plateaued. I don't think it's growing any larger than before, but I don't think it's going to get any smaller either. And they're all just like, yep, we love ourselves some Big Daddy Thomas Sanders. No, right now everyone is like, ooh, Big Daddy? Did you say, no, they're like, Bucky Barnes, did you mean Big Daddy? Yes, this was a call out for one person and one person alone. I hope you hear it. Oh, dude, that'd be wild. I wonder what the spokesperson for that soda looks like. It should be Thomas Sanders now. I like to advocate for Thomas Sanders to become the spokesperson for Dad's Old Fashioned. That way he can be everyone's dad. And I'm sure the world would love it. They'd be like, huh, yeah, we need a new national dad because the last one was a monster. I will not say him by name, but you know who I'm talking about. And he's a terrible human being. And I hope he enjoys the remainder of his life in jail. Because, holy shit, no human being, no matter their gender, should ever go through the things that person put those people through. And that's just terrible. Yeah. Okay, what a weird podcast. We've got Big Daddy, the medical field, YouTube, thespians. But yeah, I was a theater kid. I enjoyed theater. I still do. I don't really do it much per se. I don't have the time for that. Not at all. Yeah, I've pretty much given up on being able to have time to do stuff like that. I was on set over the weekend for two separate things. One I cannot disclose, and then the other one is a commercial. And while I was we weren't there long either time. It was like maybe 2 to 3 hours max for both days, right? I still felt like, man, I'm destroying my routine. Why did I say destroying like that? That's it. It's just the podcast. No, I'm destroying my routine because I just don't have the time. I'm like, here's classwork, and here is my recording schedule, and here's my free time. And I look at the clock and I go, oops, no free time for me. And I head on about my day. And it's just, yeah. Especially upcoming now, for those that aren't on social media, I'm going to start streaming on Twitch this Friday and Saturday. And it's going to be a Friday-Saturday thing until I decide that Twitch is no longer a space I want to be on or something. I don't know. And adding that alongside the recording schedule, alongside all my classwork, alongside writing my scripts, it's a lot, you know? It's why I don't watch too much of my personal YouTube. Like I follow accounts with the YouTube I use to upload my gaming, you know? And I watch them when I eat meals. And that's it. So there is an overload of videos that I just have not touched in a long time. And there's so many of them. Oh my gosh, there's so many that I just haven't seen. And it just keeps growing, which is the crazy thing about YouTube. You know, it just never stops. There's no end in sight for YouTube. Not at all. I think that YouTube is going to just go on forever until there's an overload of content, which is sort of the same issue that people are having with streaming services. There's just so much, you know, but there's not enough time or like ability to go through all of it. And it is what it is. What was I about to say next? I forgot. I don't know. There is an overload of content out there, though. You can't deny that to me. I don't know what my voice is doing. I don't know what that sound was that was accompanying my voice for a second there. But there's so much out there in the world. Streaming services, alongside just YouTube and the internet, it's too much. I love having my options. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy that I now have such an ability to just sit back and like just be like, I'm gonna watch this today, you know? But there's just so much of it. You've got your Netflix, you've got your Amazon, you've got your Disney Plus, your Hulu, your Vudu, your Tubi, your HBO Max, YouTube, you know, and then YouTube's got its own TV thing that we're never going to discuss again because I think it's dumb. No offense, YouTube. You have live TV? No, you don't. No one wants it. It's as annoying to get that ad as it is to get the one for YouTube Premium. But, yeah, it's just, there's a lot. And the overlap is so little, you know? You would think, oh, with like 8, 9 different streaming services, there has to be a point where something that's on one is on the other. But it just isn't at times. Oh, I forgot about Apple, because I think that's the stupidest one. Next thing you know, Samsung is going to have its own streaming services. I would like to see Samsung TV. Not the Samsung TVs. Those exist. They have TVs. It's a brand. But I just want to see Samsung, like, television department making shows. But I want it to all be in the same quality that everyone assumes a Samsung camera is in. Even though it's not. Samsung cameras, they're pretty solid. And that's coming from a Samsung user. You know, I enjoy, my notes here are written on a Samsung. And I enjoy that I have the phone that I have. You know, it does me good. It is yet to do me wrong. You know, in fact, it just updated this morning, and now it's doing even better. Outside of what it did to my notes, now instead of 2 big ones in a row, there's like 3 mini ones for me to look at, because I write a lot of notes. I write a lot of things down, and that's okay. Everyone should feel comfortable with writing stuff down, whether it's to remember it or if it's because they can't speak it, you know. And that's its own thing. Everyone should always feel comfortable in how they want to go about getting information. Dude, this podcast is everywhere. This is how every episode is going to be. It's just going to be everywhere until more people want things for me to talk about. It's just you as a human being have the right to feel comfortable in however you want to express information, or how you want to take down information. Because, hey, I've got a brain in my head. And that's the dumbest Satans. What? That's the dumbest sentence I've ever said. "You are such a dummy." That's the dumbest sentence I've ever said. That was a terrible bit. Uh, I've got a brain in my head, but it sure can't hold all the information I learn on a daily basis. No siree. In fact, pretty much everything that's being said here is probably going to get expelled from my brain because it's too much. It's too much thought for me, brain. That's too much. My nose. Except for the funny things, obviously. The funny things, they're going to stay in my head. Big Daddy Thomas Sanders, the best. Someone else is going to come at me and be like, no, I would like to present my advocate for who should be the spokesperson for the, what is it, Dad's Old Fashioned. I'll be like, cool, I don't care. I was making a joke. You think I really want to put forward Thomas Sanders as the advocate for this soda brand from 1937 because he's unequivocally the father of everyone? Obviously, I'm not being serious, dude. But, yeah, no. Write down things more often. I write down all my, I have a little notebook where I write down important info. And if it wasn't for that, I would forget how to get into certain things at times. Because this age of the internet has just made it really hard to remember things. Like, back in the day, when I wasn't alive, you had, 2 to 3 passwords max for something. And that was it. That was all you ever needed for your whole life. Maybe just one. But now, because you have 17,000 accounts of varying degrees of things, you've got so many different passwords and emails and just things that you need to remember that trying to keep it all in your head, that's a fool's errand. That's what that is. Fool's errand. Who says that anymore? Who came up with that statement? That's a fool's errand. That has to be a new thing. That can't be an old term, That's not old slang. That's not doused. Doused be trippin'. No one says that. Doused be tripping. That'd be funny. I want to see that comedy. I want a comedy, right? That's set in the 80s. But everyone talks like it's Shakespeare's Renaissance. That'd be terrible, actually. Now that I've said it aloud, that sounds awful. Everyone speaks Shakespearean, not like it's a Shakespeare adaptation, but they speak how Shakespeare wrote. But it's the 80s. That sounds like the worst form of film. It feels like just two genres that should never combine. Make it a drama. Go ahead, do it. Make it a drama. This idea, it's free to the world, baby. Use it. Use it as you please. I want to see those execs lose their minds funding this thing. I want to see that pitch meeting. Here we are at another pitch meeting. Ooh, what's being pitched today? Oh, Shakespearean language 80s themed comedy? That's the worst Stranger Things adaptation I've ever heard. Oh, man, no. I gotta admit, it took me a while to understand that there was a difference between things that were 80s themed and things that were set in the 80s. Stranger Things, like I just joked about there, it's set in the 80s. You're not going to find a Nintendo Switch on their set unless they like to go down the route of Game of Thrones. But stuff like Sex Education, also on Netflix, that is 80s themed because they're out there with smartphones and tech and whatnot, but the whole show is dressed and stylized like it's the 80s, which is kind of cool. I think I personally, this is me, I personally enjoy things that are 80s themed more than things set in the 80s. I think the stylistic choice, especially when applied evenly to everyone, it gives it this nice, not grounding, because obviously now it's different. It's not grounded like in our reality, but it gives its own reality a nice grounding, because they usually apply to everything, the building, the cars, the clothes, how things are styled and set up. And I think it's pretty dope. It's a very enjoyable thing to look at because you can relate a little bit more because it's still set modernly, but it's just different enough for you to be like, yeah, this isn't my world, but it's a fun one. And I think that's enjoyable. Okay. That's enough of my brain's thoughts and my horrible forms of momentarily attempted comedy, which presents its own question of how much comedy needs to be in a podcast to make it a comedy podcast. But I don't think I'll ever be a comedy podcast. I'll just be a podcast that's occasionally funny, and only funny to me because I am my own person, to call back to earlier. Okay, things that people wanted me to talk about. One of them is serious, and two of them are just awful. And I'm going to start with the awful ones, because I hate these. Furbies. Furbies and worms on a string. That was it. That was the comment. I just want to know why. Why do they still... Okay, let me set some ground here. I'm more accepting of worms on a string. I still hate them. I think they're awful. But I'm more accepting of worms on a string because they were really just like a fun toy, for people. Like you have your string that's kind of invisible, so it looks like you're just the worm is leading itself around. So it gives it this feeling of being alive. That's the whole point of the worm on of the string for the worm on the string. It gives it this feeling that it's alive, and that's fine, cool. That's dope. But Furbies, I hate Furbies. They're so awful. I think Furbies are they should have stayed in the 80s or 90s, wherever they came from, and they should have never expanded far enough for us to be able to still know about them, for them to show up in popular culture. I've been sent the clip from the Mitchells versus the Machines, or whatever it's called, where they're just attacked by a bunch of Furbies, and then a big giant one comes out to attack them too. Dude, that's horrifying. That is my exact fear personified when it comes to Furbies. Because I'm almost certain, right? I'm almost certain without a shadow of a doubt that if there was one AI built into a toy that would come to life and murder us all, it's Furbies. And they're terrifying, dude. They're not nice to look at. I don't know who designed the Furby, right? I don't know who did that. But they are not nice to look at. They're such ugly creatures. At least the Mogwai, right? That's what those are called, from Gremlins. At least those are adorable until they become gremlins. And even then, the gremlins are at least fun because they're not good. Like, you don't look at them and be like, oh, how cute and cuddly. Like, no, you're like, oh, those are murder machines. They're causing havoc and mayhem. So when you look at a Furby, you're just like, I don't like you. I do not like you because you're just not fun. You're not fun to look at. I don't know anyone close to me that looks at a Furby and goes, yeah, this is what I want to deal with. I knew one person, one human being, and you know what they did? They made one of those long Furbies, the ones that look like centipedes. That's so much worse. That is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, so much worse. Because it's, I feel tingly thinking about the modifications that people are doing to Furbies like they're cars. What? No, stop it. Okay? Look, you want to have a Furby? Go ahead. Go have a Furby. You want me to have a Furby? No, never. I will not do it. I will stand my ground against Furbies ever setting foot in a space that I find myself frequenting. Because just no. Stop. Please. I don't want your Furby. I don't like Furbies. I don't like the modifications happening to Furbies to give them other parts. Like, you must all think you're Sid from Toy Story. And that's it. You wanna be Big Daddy Thomas Sanders, but you are instead Sid from Toy Story, and that's not cool. That is not fun. You wanna go make skirts and shirts out of worms on a string? Fine. That one is fine. I will feel uncomfortable. Please don't touch me with it. But you do as you please. That's fine. Furbies, I will punt them. I will punt them. I will garner all the strength in my really good calves from supporting my terrible body. And I will punt it into the sky until it is never seen again. It'll burn up upon re-entry. There will be nothing left except maybe a circuit from its creepy endoskeleton. Why is it so creepy on the inside too? Who designed it to be able that you could just take Furby skin off? Who wanted that? Who was sitting back like, hey, I wanna take its skin off? Like, what? No. Anyone who designed the Furby to be able to do what it does must have all sounded like Nicolas Cage pretending to be John Travolta pretending to be Nicolas Cage in Face Off. That's how they all sounded. I want to take his face off. No. No, stop it. Stop it. You're bad. I think that's enough of that. The other one was fights in school, or in school fighting, you know? This one was aimed particularly at high school, because I'll be honest with you, I have not witnessed or even heard of the idea of fighting happening on campus in a college. And I think that boils down to the fact that unless it happens in a dorm, it never really happens on campus. It might happen between two people that go to that university or college, but it might happen off campus. But in high school, what are you fighting over? Tell me what's so important between the ages of 14 and 18 for you to get into a physical altercation with another student at like 8 in the morning. Dude, 8 in the morning? Oh my gosh. Why? You know what I'm doing at 8 in the morning? I'm getting up. So it's already terrible that you have to get up at 6 something to be at school for 7, but then you want to fight someone at 8 in the morning? In like a bathroom stall? That's so weird. I think that everyone who gets into a fight in high school is over terrible communication. And I mean like a physical altercation fight. I think it's just bad communication. There had to have been something that happened that instead of choosing to talk about it, you said, I want to throw hands. And you guys don't throw hands well. Or with a equal opponent. Oh my gosh, all the videos I've ever seen of people getting into fights back when I was in high school were the most mix-matched fight setups I've ever seen. Right? It's never like two equally like ripped high schoolers going at it. It's usually some dude who is as thin as a tree twig and then a guy who could probably wrestle with Shrek. And obviously Shrek always wins. Like, why do you want to pick the and they're never the one that like starts the fight either. It's always Twig Boy. Why is Twig Boy so intent on getting his face tossed into the concrete by someone 8 times his size? It doesn't make sense. Just talk it out. Dude, just talk it out. It's so ridiculous. And they're funny to watch, but they shouldn't happen, is what I'm saying. You shouldn't be fighting in high school. You know, you should be going to class. Man, go to class. You know why? Because once you finish up your 14 years of mandatory, legally required schooling, then go be a wrestler or something afterwards, you know? Then you won't have to worry about classes. But the longer you take on those classes, the more time you can't go off and put your fighting to good use or something, you know? Just do better things. do better things with your time, you know? What a weird thing, you know? I was never there for those fights. I was never present, like, physically. I always only saw a video, like, afterwards, and I always thought that was funny. Those are funny, that there's, like, 10 people getting different angles of coverage on these fights, like they're a news team. There's always someone really close and someone who's just far enough away for you to barely see the fight amongst the crowd. But there's always multiple angles. Everyone's always pulling out a phone because apparently that's the most exciting part of their day. What? Schools, be more exciting. I think that schools should be so much more exciting for, like, learning. Because then if you did that, no one would think a fight in the courtyard would be the best part of their day. They'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm so excited to go and interact in Dr. Smith Canto's class, you know? They want to go talk with Dr. Smith Canto. Cool. Go talk with Dr. Smith Canto, whoever that random teacher I made up is. Make that fun. Make that so fun so that they don't feel like watching a fight is the best part of their day. But, yeah, those are my thoughts. Don't fight in school. Don't buy Furbies. Go invest in Worms on a String or something, I guess, out of those two. Yeah, that's a... Dude, what a thought. What a thought this has been indeed. But thank you guys so much for, like, listening this far. It's really cool. Two of them? That's so cool. I didn't even think I would be able to talk for this long consistently without doing something like when I'm on the other channel. But I am, and it's nice. I enjoy getting these thoughts out and into the world so that people can talk about them or, you know, whatever. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Check out whatever. I've got stuff down below in the description. Check it out if you want to. If you don't, I'm going to stream in a couple of days. That's cool. You can check that out too. I'll probably talk about it, how it went in next week's podcast. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I've been Matt. Have a great day.